My name is Leslie Foster. I'm 63 years old. And 3 weeks ago, I watched my son William collapse at my dinner table. His wife laughed. Not a nervous laugh, not shock. A quiet, satisfied smile, like she'd been waiting for it to happen. The paramedics said it was food poisoning, from my cooking. The doctors looked at me with pity. My daughter-in-law told them I was declining, that I'd been confused lately, that maybe I shouldn't be living alone anymore. But here's what she didn't know. I have cameras in my kitchen, and when I watched the footage from that night, when I saw what she did while I was out of the room for just 3 minutes, everything made sense. The lies, the manipulation, the sudden concern about my memory problems. She wasn't trying to help me. She was trying to erase me. What happened next took patience, strategy, and becoming someone I never thought I could be. Because when you're 63 years old and someone tries to make you disappear, you show them exactly what an old man is capable of. If you want to know what I saw on that footage and how I turned my daughter-in-law's own game against her, you need to subscribe right now. Hit that subscribe button. Smash the notification bell. Because this story has twists you won't see coming, and I'm only sharing it with people who are truly invested. Comment, "Cameras don't lie," if you're ready to see how I took back control. Like this video so I know you're with me, and trust me, you're not ready for what comes next. I need you to understand something before we go any further. I'm not a vengeful man. Never have been. I spent 40 years as a civil engineer, building bridges, literal ones. I believe in structure, stability, foundations that hold. But 3 weeks ago, someone tried to demolish mine. October 12th started like any good day should. Autumn sun streaming through my kitchen window. The smell of pot roast filling the house. The same recipe my late wife Margaret used to make. The one that took all day but was worth every minute. William was coming to dinner. My son, my only child, and his wife, Evelyn. Sorry, Leslie. I always mix up her name in my head. Isn't that strange? She's been married to William for 4 years, but I still can't quite remember it right. Maybe that should have been my first clue. They hadn't visited in months. Always excuses. Leslie's job in pharmaceutical sales kept her traveling. William's accounting firm was slammed. Maybe next month, Dad. We'll make it work soon, promise. But that Tuesday, they finally said yes. I started cooking at noon. My hands aren't what they used to be. Arthritis has settled into my knuckles like an unwelcome houseguest. But I chopped every vegetable myself. Carrots, celery, onions, the Holy Trinity, Margaret used to call it. I seared the roast until it had that perfect crust, then let it braise low and slow for 4 hours. Garlic mashed potatoes, green beans with slivered almonds, homemade apple pie cooling on the counter, every detail perfect. They arrived at 7 sharp. William came through the door first, and God, he looked tired, thinner than I remembered, dark circles under his eyes that his smile couldn't quite hide. Dad? He hugged me tight, and for a moment he was 8 years old again, wrapping his arms around my waist after I came home from work. It smells incredible in here, just like Mom's cooking. That's the idea, I said, my throat tight. Then Leslie stepped in behind him. She wore an expensive-looking gray dress, heels that clicked on my hardwood floors. Her blonde hair was pulled back in a tight ponytail. She smiled, but it was the kind of smile you give a stranger in a grocery store. Polite, empty. Leslie, good to see you, I said. You too, Dad. She never called me that before. Always Leslie's father, or just avoided addressing me directly. The sudden familiarity felt wrong, like a shirt buttoned incorrectly. She handed me a bottle of wine. For dinner, though I suppose you've already been cooking with wine. She laughed a little too brightly. Just beef broth, actually, but thank you. We moved to the living room for drinks. William and I fell into easy conversation about his work, a tricky client, the Phillies' disappointing season. Leslie sat beside him on the couch, smiling at appropriate moments, but her attention was elsewhere. Her phone kept buzzing in her purse. She'd glance at it, then away, then back again. "Everything okay at work?" I asked. Oh, yes, just a colleague. Nothing urgent." But she held the phone a little tighter. At 7:30, I excused myself to finish plating dinner. "I'll just be a few minutes. Make yourselves comfortable." I was transferring the pot roast to the serving platter when I heard the bathroom door close down the hall. Then footsteps in my hallway. Lighter, quicker. Leslie's heels. I glanced toward the kitchen doorway. "Leslie, bathroom's down the hall on the left." "Found it, thanks." Her voice came from farther away than it should have. I turned back to the roast, adjusting the carrots around it. Behind me, I heard the soft click of heels entering the kitchen, then stopping. I assumed she'd come to offer help. "I've got it under control," I said without turning. "Just need another minute." No response. When I finally looked, the kitchen was empty. Strange, I thought, but I was focused on the meal. We sat down at 8. I'd set William's place at the head of the table, his spot since he was a kid, the chair where he could see out to the backyard bird feeder he'd built with me when he was 12. "This looks amazing, Dad," William said, and I saw genuine happiness in his face. Peace. For 20 minutes we ate and talked and laughed. Then William's fork clattered against his plate. The fork hit the plate with a sharp clink that seemed too loud in my small dining room. William's hand went to his stomach. His face had gone gray. Not pale, but actually gray, like old concrete. "Dad." His voice was hoarse. I don't feel." He tried to stand. His chair scraped backward. His legs wobbled. Then he went down. Not dramatically. Not like in the movies. He just folded. Knees first, then his whole body crumpling to my hardwood floor like a puppet with cut strings. "William!" I was out of my chair before my brain even registered moving. My knees screamed as I dropped down beside him, but I didn't care. "William, talk to me. Can you hear me?" His eyes were open but unfocused. His skin was clammy, cold. I pressed my fingers to his neck, pulse racing, rapid and thready like a frightened bird. "Call 911, I shouted, looking up at Leslie. She was still seated, still holding her wine glass. And she was smiling. Not broadly, just a small curve at the corner of her mouth. Her hand came up slowly, covering her lips, but not before I saw it. That expression, like someone who'd just watched their favorite team score a winning goal. Satisfaction. "What the hell is wrong with you?" The words came out like gravel. "Call an ambulance." The smile disappeared. Her eyes went wide, but was it shock or was it just acting? "Oh my God," she said, and her voice had the right tremor in it, the right amount of panic. "Oh my God, William!" She pulled out her phone with shaking hands, but not too shaking, just enough. While she called, I cradled my son's head. "Stay with me. You're okay. You're going to be okay." William's eyes found mine. "Dad, what happened?" "I don't know, son, but help is coming." I heard Leslie's voice behind me, controlled and clear. "Yes, my husband collapsed. We're at 247 Maple Street. He was eating dinner and just fell. Please hurry." Then, quieter, almost as an afterthought, "His father cooked the meal." My head snapped around. "What?" But she wasn't looking at me. She was looking at William with perfect, practiced concern. The ambulance arrived in 16 minutes. Paramedics flooded my dining room, efficient and professional. They checked William's vitals, asked questions rapid fire. What did he eat? Pot roast, potatoes, green beans. Any known allergies? None. He's never. Has he been sick recently? No, he was fine until. "Sir, we need you to step back." They loaded William onto a stretcher. He was conscious now, but barely. Confused, disoriented. "I'm riding with him," I said. "No." Leslie's hand touched my arm, gentle but firm. "Dad, you're shaken up. You should drive separately. I'll ride in the ambulance with him." He's my son. And he's my husband. Her eyes met mine, still that false concern. You need to follow in your car. Someone has to secure the house, turn off the stove. You left it on, didn't you? I hadn't. I knew I hadn't. But she said it with such certainty that even I second-guessed myself. I'll check. Good, meet us at County General. I'll stay with him. She climbed into the ambulance before I could argue. The doors closed, the siren wailed, and I stood in my driveway, 63 years old and utterly alone, watching the ambulance carry my son away. I went back inside. The stove was off. The food was still on the table, barely touched. William's plate sat at the head of the table, his fork beside it, a half-eaten bite of pot roast still visible. Something made me stop. His plate looked different. The sauce around the meat seemed thicker, darker, like something had been stirred into it after I'd served it. I picked up the plate carefully, carried it to the counter, and covered it with plastic wrap. Then I drove to the hospital with my hands gripping the wheel so tight my knuckles went white. Because somewhere in my gut, in that place where fathers know when something is deeply, terribly wrong, I understood. This wasn't an accident, and Leslie's smile wasn't shock. It was anticipation. I sat in that hospital waiting room for 3 hours. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. A television in the corner played the news on mute. Something about a local election. Faces smiling with too many teeth. I couldn't focus on any of it. Just watch the double doors where they'd taken William, waiting for someone to tell me my son was okay. Leslie came out first at 11:47 p.m. I'd been checking my watch every few minutes, so I remember the exact time. He's stable, she said, sitting down 2 chairs away from me. Not next to me. 2 chairs away. Food poisoning. Severe, but they're treating it. He'll recover. Thank God. The relief hit me like a wave. Can I see him? They're moving him to a room. Soon. She paused, studying her manicured nails. The doctor wants to talk to you, actually, about the meal. My stomach tightened. What about it? Just routine questions, food safety, preparation methods. She looked up at me then, and her expression was so perfectly sympathetic it made my skin crawl. Dad, I need to tell you something. I probably should have said this earlier, but William and I have been worried about you. Worried about me? You've seemed off lately, forgetting things. Last time we talked on the phone, you asked me the same question 3 times, and when we came to visit last month, you haven't visited in 6 months, Leslie. She blinked. It was 8 weeks ago. We brought wine. Don't you remember? I opened my mouth, then closed it. Had they visited? My memory was usually sharp, but suddenly I felt uncertain. Unmoored. The point is, she continued gently, we've noticed changes. And now this. William getting sick from your cooking. I'm not saying you did anything wrong, but maybe my cooking was fine. My voice came out harder than I intended. Of course. She held up her hands in a placating gesture. I'm sure it was. But the doctor is going to ask questions, and I just wanted you to be prepared. Because they might suggest, well, that you get checked out too. Cognitive tests. Just to be safe. A doctor emerged from the double doors. Young, exhausted looking. Family of William Foster? We both stood. The doctor introduced himself, Dr. Patel, and asked me to walk him through the meal. Every ingredient, every step of preparation. Where I'd bought the food, how I'd stored it. Had anything seemed off? Any unusual smells or colors? Everything was fresh, I said. I bought the ingredients yesterday from Martin's Market. I've been cooking for 50 years. I know food safety. Dr. Patel nodded, making notes. Then Leslie spoke up. Doctor, I'm sorry, but I think there's something you should know. Her voice cracked just slightly. My father-in-law has been having some memory issues. We found expired food in his refrigerator last month, meat that had been there for weeks. That's not true. I stared at her, That's a lie. Dad, I know this is hard to hear. It's not true. Dr. Patel's expression shifted. He was looking at me differently now, evaluating. Mr. Foster, have you noticed any changes in your memory recently? No, because there haven't been any. But even as I said it, doubt crept in. Had I forgotten their visit? Was my memory failing and I just couldn't see it? Leslie touched my shoulder. We're just worried about you. We love you. I drove home at 1 in the morning in a fog of confusion and anger. The house was dark and empty. The dinner was still on the table, cold and congealed now. William's covered plate sat on the counter where I'd left it. I started cleaning up mechanically, scraping food into containers, when I stopped. The security system. 2 years ago, after the Hendersons got broken into 3 doors down, I'd had my grandson install cameras. Front door, driveway, and one facing the backyard that caught part of the kitchen through the window. I'd barely thought about them since installation. Hardly knew how to access the footage, but suddenly, desperately, I needed to see that recording. It took me 40 minutes to figure out the app on my laptop. The interface was designed for people who grew up with technology, all icons and swipe gestures that meant nothing to me. But finally, I found the recordings. October 12th, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. I watched myself move through the kitchen, plating food, stirring potatoes, checking the roast. At 7:34 p.m., I left the frame. Heading to the bathroom, I remembered now. For exactly 2 minutes and 47 seconds, the kitchen was empty. Then, at 7:35:33, someone entered from the hallway. Leslie. My heart stopped. She moved quickly, purposefully. Her head turned toward the hallway, listening, checking. Then she pulled something from her purse, a small container, white, about the size of a pill bottle. She opened it. She looked at William's plate, the one I'd set at the head of the table, his usual spot since childhood, and she dumped something into it. Powder or liquid, I couldn't quite tell from the angle. Whatever it was disappeared into the dark sauce of the pot roast. She stirred it with her finger. Just a quick swirl, mixing it in. Then she went to the sink and rinsed her hand under the faucet. The entire thing took 32 seconds. She checked the hallway one more time, smoothed her dress, and disappeared back the way she'd come. 10 seconds later, I returned to the kitchen, completely unaware. I watched the footage 4 times. Then 4 more. Each time, my hands shook harder. Each time, the betrayal sank deeper. She had poisoned my son. Not to kill him. The dose was clearly calculated. This was precise, planned. She poisoned him to frame me. I didn't sleep that night. Couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Leslie's hand stirring poison into my son's food. That casual, practiced movement. The way she checked the hallway like a thief checking for witnesses. Because that's what she was. A thief. But what was she stealing? At 6 a.m., I called Robert Chen. We'd been friends for 30 years. He'd been the attorney who handled Margaret's estate when she passed. Retired now, but sharp as ever. Harold, it's 6 in the morning. I need your help. Legal help. Something in my voice must have convinced him, because 15 minutes later he was at my door in a wrinkled shirt and reading glasses, watching the security footage on my laptop. He watched it 3 times without speaking. This is elder abuse, he said finally. Financial exploitation, poisoning, false reporting. Harold, we need to call the police right now. No, not yet. What do you mean, not yet? She poisoned your son to frame you. I know, but if we go to the police now, what happens? I stood up, pacing my small kitchen. She lawyers up immediately. She uses the narrative she's already building. Confused old man, declining memory, probably doctored the footage. She's been laying groundwork, Robert. The comments about my memory, the concern, the witnesses at the hospital. Robert was quiet, thinking. She's building a case for incompetency. Exactly. And if she can prove I'm incompetent, She can petition for guardianship, control your finances, your medical decisions. He stopped, understanding, dawning. The inheritance. I nodded. William inherited everything when Margaret died. The house, her life insurance, her savings, nearly $800,000. It's in a trust, with provisions for my care if anything happens to him. And if William is incapacitated or dead, and you're declared incompetent, she'd have access to everything as William's wife and my court-appointed guardian. Robert ran a hand through his thinning hair. This is sophisticated. How long has she been planning this? That's when it clicked. The pieces I'd been trying to fit together. 3 months ago, William mentioned updating his will. He said Leslie suggested setting up a trust for me. At the time, I thought it was thoughtful. But she was positioning herself. And the visits stopping, the distance. She's been isolating William from me, making it easier to control the narrative. I pulled up my phone, scrolling through text messages. Look at this. Every time I've tried to make plans with William in the last 4 months, Leslie has responded. Not William. Leslie. Always with an excuse. Robert leaned forward reading. She's been gatekeeping. And now she's accelerating. The poison, the hospital scene, planting the idea that I'm declining. She's moving fast. Why now? Why suddenly rush? I didn't have an answer. Not yet. But I'd find out. Robert, I need your advice. Not as a friend, as an attorney. He sat back, considering. If we report this now, it becomes a he said, she said. Your footage doesn't clearly show what's in that container. A good defense attorney would argue it could have been anything. Salt, sugar, a dietary supplement. Without testing the substance or proving actual harm with intent. It's circumstantial. Exactly. And with her narrative about your mental decline already established with medical professionals, you become an unreliable witness. A confused old man making accusations against his devoted daughter-in-law. The trap was elegant. I had to admire it even as it enraged me. So, what do I do? Robert was quiet for a long moment. You let her think she's winning. You document everything. And you wait for her to reveal her full hand. Meaning she's not done. This was step 1. She'll keep pushing. More incidents, more witnesses to your decline, probably try to get you formally evaluated. Let her. Play into it if you have to, but document everything. Dates, times, witnesses, keep a journal, save every text, every email, and... He hesitated. What? Find out what she's really after. $800,000 is a lot of money, but this feels personal. Desperate. Like she needs it now, not eventually. People don't construct elaborate schemes like this without serious motivation. He was right. That afternoon, William called from the hospital. His voice was groggy, weak. Dad, Leslie said you wanted to talk to me. I hadn't said anything to Leslie, but of course she'd frame it that way. How are you feeling, son? Terrible. Foggy. The doctors say that's normal after severe food poisoning, but... He trailed off. Dad, did something happen with the food? Was there something wrong with it? This was my moment. I could tell him everything. Show him the footage. Expose Leslie right now. But Robert's words echoed. Let her reveal her full hand. No, son. Everything was fresh. I don't understand what happened. I let my voice waver slightly. Maybe I did miss something. Maybe I'm not as sharp as I thought. Dad, don't say that. It was probably just bad luck. Cross-contamination or something. Maybe you're right. I paused. Leslie's been good to you? Taking care of you? Yeah, she's been great, really attentive. She made me promise to rest, not worry about work. She even brought me tea from home, says it'll help with the recovery. My blood went cold. Tea? Yeah, some herbal blend. It's helping me sleep, but I feel kind of out of it after. Leslie says that's good, that I need rest. She was still dosing him, keeping him foggy, compliant. unable to think clearly enough to question anything. "That's good, son. You rest." After we hung up, I sat in my empty house and understood something important. This wasn't just about money. This was about control. And I was going to have to become someone I'd never been before to stop her. I became the man Leslie wanted everyone to see. It started small, deliberately small. When William called 2 days after being released from the hospital, I let the phone ring 4 times before answering, just long enough to seem distracted. "Dad? You there?" "William, yes, sorry, What day is it?" "It's Thursday, Dad." "Thursday, right, of course." I paused as if gathering my thoughts. "How are you feeling? You were sick. Was that last week?" 3 days ago, Dad." 3 days, right. Time gets away from me sometimes." I could hear the concern in his voice, the doubt creeping in. It made me sick to do this to him, but I needed Leslie to believe her plan was working. Over the next 2 weeks, I built my performance carefully. Missed appointments, or claimed I forgot them. Called William at odd hours asking if we'd already spoken that day. Left a rambling voicemail about needing to buy groceries, mentioning items Margaret used to like, talking about her as if she were still alive. Each mistake was calculated. Each moment of confusion was a brick in the foundation of my trap. The real test came when they invited me to Sunday dinner at their condo. "Leslie's idea," she said. "We want to spend time with you, Dad. Keep an eye on you." I arrived with a store-bought pie, cherry, from the bakery section at Martin's. Leslie noticed immediately. "You didn't bake?" She exchanged a loaded glance with William. "You always bake your own pies." I shrugged, letting embarrassment color my face. Couldn't quite remember Margaret's recipe. The measurements. Figured this was safer. Another glance between them. William's face showed worry. Leslie's showed something else. Satisfaction. During dinner, I played my part perfectly. I told a story about William's Little League days, a story I'd told them 2 months ago at a restaurant, though I pretended not to remember sharing it before. I called Leslie Ellen twice, correcting myself with flustered apologies. I commented on their new, gray couch that had been in their living room for 3 years. Leslie watched me like a scientist observing a specimen, taking mental notes, building her case. But I watched her too, and I noticed things she didn't think I was sharp enough to see. The documents casually left on the coffee table, power of attorney forms, brochures for senior living communities, information about memory care facilities with names like Golden Years Estate and Harmony Gardens. The way she steered every conversation back to my supposed decline. "Dad, you asked me that already. Remember, we talked about this? William, maybe we should write this down for him." The phone call she took in the other room, not quite out of earshot. I caught fragments. "Moving faster than expected. By next month at the latest." "Yes, I'm sure." After dinner, Leslie walked me to my car alone. William had gone to take a work call. "Dad," she said softly, touching my arm with false tenderness, "I want you to know that William and I are here for you. Whatever you need. When the time comes to make some changes, some difficult decisions, we'll help you through it." I looked at her, really looked at her, and saw the desperation underneath the calculation. This wasn't just about money. This was urgent. She needed this to happen soon. "That's kind of you, Leslie," I said, letting my voice waver. "I know I'm becoming a burden. I can feel myself slipping." "You're not a burden." But her eyes said otherwise. Her eyes said, "You're an obstacle, and I'm removing you." That night I called Robert. "She's accelerating. I think she's got financial problems, serious ones. This isn't a long-term plan anymore. She needs access to that money now." "Can you prove it?" "Not yet, but I will." I paused. "Robert, I need you to do something for me. Something that's going to sound crazy." "I'm listening." "I need you to help me prepare for a competency evaluation. A real one. Because when Leslie tries to have me declared incompetent, and she will, I'm going to pass with flying colors, and then I'm going to have her evaluated." Robert was quiet. "You're setting a trap." "I'm setting several traps. I just need her to walk into one." The next day, I received a call from Adult Protective Services. "Mr. Foster, this is Angela Martinez. We've received a report of concern regarding your welfare." Leslie had made her move, and I was ready. Angela Martinez came to my house on a Friday morning. Professional, thorough, kind. She walked through every room, noting the clean kitchen, the organized medication shelf. I'd set out vitamins and supplements to show compliance, the calendar on my wall with appointments clearly marked in my own handwriting. She asked me questions: date, time, current president, simple arithmetic. I answered everything perfectly. Not too perfectly. I paused occasionally as if thinking, but accurately. "Mr. Foster, I have to say, you seem quite capable. Your home is well maintained, you're clearly oriented and functional. Can you tell me why someone might have filed a concern?" This was my moment. "I think," I said carefully, "you should ask my daughter-in-law about October 12th, and I think you should see this." I showed her the security footage. I watched her face change as Leslie dumped something into William's plate. Watched her professional mask crack. "Mr. Foster, this is potentially criminal. This isn't an APS matter. You need to contact the police." "I will, but I needed to understand what she was doing first. I needed evidence of the full scheme." I pulled out my journal. 2 weeks of documented interactions, lies, manipulations. She's not trying to help me. She's trying to gain control of my son's inheritance through me. Angela closed her notebook slowly. "I need to make some calls. What you've shown me, this is elder abuse, financial exploitation. We take this very seriously." After she left, I called William. Not the confused version. The real me. "William, I need you to come to my house, right now, alone. Don't tell Leslie." "Dad, what's going on? You sound different." "I am different. I've been pretending, son, and I need to show you why." He arrived 30 minutes later, confused and worried. I sat him down at my kitchen table, the same table where he'd collapsed, and I showed him everything. The security footage of Leslie poisoning his food, the journal documenting her manipulations, the documents about guardianship she'd been preparing, the APS report she'd filed against me, and finally the lab results I'd had Robert arrange, testing the herbal tea Leslie had been giving William every night, diphenhydramine, Benadryl, in doses high enough to cause sustained cognitive impairment. My son's face cycled through disbelief, horror, rage, and finally, heartbreak. "She's been drugging me," he whispered, "for weeks, making me foggy so I'd trust her, so I wouldn't question anything." "Yes. And she poisoned me to frame you." "Yes." William's hands shook as he held the evidence. Then he looked up at me with eyes full of pain and something else. Respect. "You played her, this whole time. You made her think she was winning. I had to know what she was really after, and now we do." "What do we do now?" I stood up, feeling stronger than I had in weeks. "Now, we finish this." We met at Robert's office on a Tuesday morning. Just the four of us, me, William, Leslie, and Robert as legal witness. Leslie arrived in a navy dress, heels clicking confidently across the hardwood floor. She carried a leather folder, probably more documents about my care needs. She looked composed, prepared, in control. She had no idea what was waiting for her. "Thank you for coming, Leslie," Robert said. "Please sit." She smiled warmly. "Of course, I'm glad we're all finally having this conversation. Dad needs help, and William and I want to make sure—" "Leslie." William's voice cut through hers like a blade. "Stop talking." She blinked, surprised. "Honey, I know this is difficult." He slid a document across the table. Lab results from the tea she'd been making him. She glanced down. I watched the color drain from her face. "That's the tea you've been giving me every night. The tea that's been keeping me foggy. Diphenhydramine. You've been drugging me. William, I don't know what you're talking about. That tea was herbal. It was supposed to help you. He slid another document. The security footage printed frame by frame. Leslie entering my kitchen. Leslie dumping something into his plate. Leslie rinsing her hands. October 12th. You poisoned me. To frame my father. She stared at the images. Her mouth opened, closed. The confident mask cracked. This isn't. You don't understand. Then help us understand. I leaned forward. Why, Leslie? Why poison your own husband? She looked at me, and for the first time, I saw real fear in her eyes. You have no idea what it's like, she whispered. The pressure, the debt. My business failed 2 years ago. Pharmaceuticals, gone. I invested everything and lost it all. We're drowning, William. Drowning. I thought if I could just access the trust, if I could manage your father's affairs, we could fix everything. No one would get hurt. It was temporary. You drugged me for 3 weeks. To keep you calm. To keep you from asking questions while I handled things. Her voice rose, desperate now. Your father's sitting on $800,000 while we're bleeding money. He doesn't need it all. He's old. He's alone. What does he need that much money for, anyway? The room went silent. So you decided to make me look incompetent, I said quietly. Take control of my life. Access my son's inheritance through me. It wasn't personal. It was practical. Efficient. You'd have been taken care of. Some nice facility. Comfortable. And William and I could breathe again. William stood up, his chair scraping loud in the quiet office. We're done. Sign the divorce papers. William, please. Sign them, or we go to the police with all of this. Elder abuse, poisoning, fraud. Robert's already confirmed it's enough for criminal charges. Robert slid the papers across the table. You walk away with nothing. You enter mandatory counseling. You never contact William or his father again. Or you face prosecution. Leslie's hands shook as she picked up the pen. I loved you, William said softly. I would have helped you. If you'd just asked. She signed the papers without looking up. As she walked out, she paused at the door. I'm sorry, she whispered. Not to me, to William. He didn't respond. That was 6 months ago. William's living in the guest room now, healing, finding himself again. We cooked together most nights, him learning Margaret's recipes, me teaching him the patience they require. The fog has lifted from his mind. He's himself again. Some nights we talk about what happened. Other nights we just exist together in comfortable silence. Did you ever doubt yourself? He asked last week. When you were pretending? Every single day. I was terrified I'd become what she wanted me to be. But you didn't. No, because I knew who I was. And she didn't. This morning, William made pot roast. Margaret's recipe. He got every detail right. We sat at the same table where this all started, and we ate, and we were okay. I'm 63 years old. I survived betrayal, manipulation, and nearly losing everything. But I'm still here, still standing, still making dinner with my son, and that's its own kind of victory. Thank you for staying until the very end. If this story moved you, if it showed you that being underestimated can be your greatest weapon, then subscribe to this channel. Hit that like button one final time. Comment "Justice served" and tell me, what would you have done in my situation? Share this story with someone who needs to hear it, because stories about real people choosing dignity over revenge, strategy over emotion, those are the stories that matter. Turn on all notifications. More true stories about resilience and quiet victories are coming. And remember, sometimes the best revenge is simply refusing to become what someone tried to make you. See you in the next one. Stay strong.